Welcome back to another Talklets conversation. Back in the late 60s, early 70s, there was this famous rock band group called the Rolling Stone out of London, England. And they penned this song, a very popular song called Time is on My Side. And it goes something like this: Time is on my side. Yes, it is. Now, that's the most you're going to get out of me this morning, but that was a very popular song. And they were just simply implying to this young lady that I'm going to wait out whatever it is that you have in your system that you need to get out of your system because time is on my side. You were meant for me and I was meant for you. And so you said you want to be free. And so you're going out searching for those things that you said you want to search for. But what they're saying is that I'll be right here waiting when you get back because time is on my side. And I know you're going to come back because there's nothing better than me. There's nothing you're going to find out there in those streets that's going to satisfy you like I will. And so time is on my side. They're saying, I'm not rushing. Yeah, I'm not sweating you. I'm going to be right here, though. I know you're going to return because time is on my side. I think most of us live our lives that same way. We feel that time is on our side. I know our children do because children are, let's be real, they're invincible. they think they have all the time in the world. And some of you who've gotten older, you realize that no. Time is not on your side. And because you're not the timekeeper. And so how can time be on your side? If you can't turn the dial back, then you're not the one who's keeping time. Like you can take your little stopwatch, you can turn the little second hand back. Well, guess what? Life is not like that. You can't go back and get anything that you've lost with time because time is not on your side. Now, I do like the song. I mean, it's has some positive aspects to it. But when you look at life and you look at living this life, no one can turn back that dial except for the creator of that dial. There are an estimated 9 billion people on the planet right now, of which 593,000 of those people will live to be 100 years old. Think about that now. That's just 0.00658%. I mean, it's not even 1%. It's very low out of 9 billion people. What am I trying to say? Well, I'm trying to say that time is not on your side. Unless you're one of those 0.00658%. You see, most of us don't really think about how long we're going to live. And within this short time, space of time, if you will, all the things that we should be accomplishing. And so we think we're going to just keep on existing, until the hundreds and 200s. That's not going to happen. Methuselah's dead, 900, those days are gone. So just look at your life. And if you're 30 right now, you have to realize that if your time runs out at 60, then half of your life has already been lived. If you're 40 and you're going to live to be 80, half of your life is already lived. And if you're 50, let's just say you're one of those 0.00658, if you're one of those individuals, then half of your life is already lived. But for most of you, reality is that most of you won't get to be 100 just based on those statistics. Most of you, when you get 40, you got to realize that really and truly, you probably just have 30, 20, maybe 40 years left. And so time is never on your side because, let's be for real, you don't control time. We should be aging like fine wine, which takes time to be fine and good taste in wine. But some of you have taken on the aspects of the older you're getting, the more bitter you've become. And that's because you realize that time is running out and you're really stretching, uh, if you will, at poor decision. You're just clawing at things that you haven't accomplished versus being content and resting and just understanding that, no one can do it all. I mean, it's impossible. But just understanding that you lived a good life and that, there are still things for you to do, but you get so trapped and so caught up into condemning yourself, into reflecting back at things or looking back at things that that you didn't finish. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be a lot of us who haven't finished a lot of things because we put so much on our plate. And we don't realize that, you don't have enough time to finish all that stuff. And so your problem is that you just didn't prioritize adequately. You just didn't organize your thoughts and yourself and the things that you were trying to achieve. I mean, that's the biggest part of it. And so that's why you didn't complete some things, because you never realized that time was never on your side. King Solomon probably tells the story better than most. One of the wisest men the Bible tells us that's ever lived. That's ever lived. I mean, the Bible is telling us before him, during his season, and after him, there's no one who will ever touch the surface, scratch the surface like King Solomon when it comes to wisdom. He makes a statement in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, starting at verse 1. He says that there is a time for everything. And you think about that for a moment. There is a time for everything. He says, and a season, here's a good part, for every activity under the heavens. Now, when you look at this statement, there's a time for everything, time for everything. And there's a season, which means that time is in a season. And so it makes me think about the right time in the right season. So time works within seasons of your life. He goes on to say a right time to be born and a time to die. Wouldn't you love being born again? I mean, hold up. You can be born again. Let's get that straight. All you have to do is confess and believe that Jesus is Lord. Let's just make that happen right now. But wouldn't you love to be born like during this season with all the technology, all the stuff that's coming up with AI? I know some of you said, no, I'd love to have been born a long time ago. Well, I don't know about you, but this is a great time. This is a great season for those who are being born now. I mean, when you look at the big picture, there's just so many advancements happening right now. And it would be a beautiful thing. And so just think from that perspective. He says a time to plant and a time to uproot, which means to reap. Verse 3, a time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. Now keep in mind, I told you it's about the right season, right timing. So when you look at these statements, like verse 4, a right time. Now it doesn't say right, but just look at this because you talk about seasons. It says a time. So a right time to weep. There's a time to weep and a time to laugh. A right time to mourn and a time to dance. We all have our weeping and mourning moments, and we weep and mourn differently. I mean, we laugh at different things, and of course, we just have different rhythms, if you will, when it comes to dancing and our movement. And then he goes on in verse 5, it's a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. Verse 6, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to reflect on things, and then it's a time to let things go. Don't just keep a thought and let that thought get the best of you. No, let it go. It's almost like putting a sailboat, a little bit of paper sailboat on the water and let it just flow away. That's what you have to do with some of your stinking thinking, some of your thoughts. I mean, we can get in our thoughts and trapped into our thoughts into time where we're just no good for anyone. He says a time to keep and a time to throw away. He says, don't become a hoarder. Mm-mm. There are some things you got to trash, because if you don't trash it, it'll start trashing you mentally. Yeah. I heard Bishop one time say that your mind becomes like a trash can. And that's why you can see yourself digging in a trash can, because your mind is so trashed out, because you hoard so much stuff. Don't become a hoarder in life. Verse 7, a time to terror and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. We've heard the statement that silence is golden. Well, that's a lost art. I mean, when you think about it, you have all these people saying, well, the Lord told me last night, the Lord told me, God told me. I don't know how God is speaking to so many people when we're so noisy, we're so loud. I don't know how he can get a word in edgewise when we're all talking and speaking because we think we know it all. I mean, how is he speaking to you when you don't never shut up? I don't get it, but if you're saying it, I just have to trust you and believe it. But I'm just kind of confused with that. But God is really speaking to so many people. when so many people are out talking God. Verse 8, a time to love and a time to hate. Some love is so misplaced. I mean, some of you just don't get it. I mean, talk about love. You're just misplacing because you don't want to be single, because you don't want to be lonely, and you're misplacing it. What I mean is you're rushing yourself because you think you're running out of time. You're not running out of time. You're running into trouble is what you're doing. So be careful of trading trouble for time. You want to take your time because you don't want to misplace your love, because if you do, you start displacing yourself and you start hating things that you should be loving. You don't want to be in that picture, but so many people are. Then he says a time for war and a time for peace. We are currently in a spiritual warfare with this flesh that we live in. That's where we are. And most of us don't get it. This flesh knows that it has a short season, if you will, a season. And so it's fighting to make you do things that you normally wouldn't do. I mean, when you were younger, you were so strong, you made it clear, and you were so disciplined. I'm not going to ever do that. As you've gotten older, you start compromising because you can sense you're running out of time. And so you start compromising, and this flesh is worrying on you. Things that you would never look at, things that you would never try, things that you would never see yourself involved in. Guess what? You're dipping. Yeah, you're tipping through the tulips. And you're starting to be tempted by stuff. Because, see, Satan knows that your clock is running out. And he doesn't stop just because you're getting older. No, 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 no. He couldn't get you in your 30s. He couldn't get you in your 50s, but he's trying you in your 60s now. He never stops. He's going to try you in your 70s. He's going to try you in your 80s. You hear about these senior citizen homes where these individuals are doing stuff they shouldn't be doing because they're lonely. Young guys are coming in and having their way with them because they're lonely and they want somebody, with them. And so they start giving in. They start compromising. Live a good life, a blessed life, a holy life. And at the last hour, their season on this earth, they start doing stuff they never would do. Same with those young men. Same with those young men. But you've got to keep yourself, because believe me, Satan is coming. And then King Solomon tells us in verse 9, what do workers gain from their toil? He says, I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. There we go, time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Now that's a good one. He has set eternity. There's something in you that knows. It's like that clock ticking inside of you. It knows that it's bouncing up against eternity. And it's trying to push you to the right team. God has set something inside of you with that time, with that clock ticking. And it's trying to force you. It's trying to nudge you. Yeah. It's trying to provoke you to get on the right team. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to the end. Don't fight what God has set inside of you. He placed it there for his glory and for your victory. You live this life. I mean, you and I, as if time is on our side. There was this Instagram post that I had a chance to listen to a couple of weeks back, and it really captured my attention because it's so true. We talk about loving our parents and loving our family, and and that's our all in all. My family, that's my bond, that's my blood. But when you think about it, from the age of 1 to 18, if you will, that's the most time you're ever going to spend with your family, with your parents, with your siblings. And some of you've taken it for granted. You think that, no, I spent a lot of time with my family. Well, no. Because when most of us get out of college, I mean, let's be for real, we move away. And so it's kind of hard to get back to spend quality time. Listen to this analysis because it's impactful, but it's informational. And I think it's going to help you out a little bit to see where we all are. But from the age of 1 to 18, when you really think about it, for 8 hours a day, maybe 10, most of you are getting up and going to school. And so you don't see your parents until you get out of school, and well, really until they get off work. And so when they get off work and you're at home, that's like a 4-hour span of the family structure being together, maybe 4 hours at most. And within that 4 hours, you're watching TV, on social media, you're eating dinner, you're doing homework. Your parents are probably finishing up some work as well, as your mom and dad are cooking and doing chores around the house. And when it's all said and done, you're in bed. And by 10 o'clock, you're in bed. And 11 o'clock, whatever it is, you're in bed. And so really waking hours, you've only spent maybe during the course of the day, 4 hours with your parents, with your children. And so that's all you've done. And so when you add that up during the course of the week, just think 4 hours are really what you call quality time. When you're really, that's kind of evaporated with all the stuff you're doing around that time. But just say 4 hours each day. So just take 4 and 5, that's 20. So out of all the hours, wow, within a 5-day span, you spent 20 hours maybe with your child. You see how time is? I told you, time is not on your side. And then when you go off to college, you see them during the holidays only. That's it. They're at school. So you see them during the holidays. And when you see them during the holidays, let's be real, you're sharing their time with them and all their friends, because now they're past the age of 18, so they have a car more than likely, and they're visiting their friends, and they're going all over the place. And so when they come home for the holiday, it's normally, let's just say it's a week. And out of that week, you probably got 12 hours out of them. Probably got 12 hours. You're still working. You probably got 12 hours, maybe 8 out of that whole week. So for a whole year, when you think about it, you probably spend no more than 8 to maybe 24 hours with your child in your presence. I mean, just really glued in and fixed in with you and her, or you and him in a conversation. And then they get married. And so now during the holidays, they go to the wife's house, family. And then some holidays they come to your house, family. You see what I'm saying about time? And so you haven't seen them in a long time, unless you go visit them. And when you go visit them, that's probably the most quality time you're going to get, because things are kind of structured for them and their family life structure in the city and the home that they're in. So you get more time there. But really, when you look at this big scope of everything, you spend more time on the phone, on social media, Facebooking one another. But reality sets in, and here comes a whole year past, and you've spent maybe out of the whole year, maybe 48 hours with your child, with your parents, for the whole year. And so 20 years have passed now. Everybody's growing up, getting older, getting sick, whatever issues are happening in life, celebrations, anniversaries. And when you look at 20 years and you look at maybe 24 to 48 hours that you spend really actively in front of your parents, 40 years, 20 years have passed. And so you probably put in, let's say 2-3 weeks out of 20 years worth of time with your parents. Now, if that's not a wake-up call, I don't know what is. That's a wake-up call for me. We've allowed time, so we thought, to be on our side, but really and truly, time is on its own side. We don't control time. Only the controller of time, the creator of time, really understands time. And God isn't even set inside of time. He sets inside of eternity. So he's looking at us at time and said, you're wasting time. You're wasting time by not applying your time to the things that you really do love. And that's where we are. We're so caught up into our stuff. Whatever you're going to do, this is for young people. And if you're young at heart, please, this is for you too. Whatever you're going to do it now. Do it while you're young. Yeah. While you have your strength, your energy, your health, your innocence. Please do it before people around you, your friends, your family members, all the naysayers, before they start telling you stuff like words like no. So you don't need to hear those words. But that's what starts happening. If you don't take care of your business, other people become your business. They become, part of your mindset, if you will. They start teaching you words like I can't, and words like never. Words like I quit. I just stopped. I couldn't see myself doing it. You see, that's what we do. That's what this society, that's what this culture will do to us. That's what your family members, your friends will do. They'll warp your mind to be just like theirs. And it's so nice when a child is innocent and don't have that kind of vocabulary, because they can conquer the world. They can do almost anything. But when they start looking at you and your shortcomings and your failures, and that starts getting inside of them, they become short-circuited as well. Because time It's not on your side. Time is like sand in an hourglass. You know, you take it and you turn it upside down and you see it just drifting out. That's your life. Every day, your life is drifting. It's sifting away. This dust, the flesh you live in, it's going back to the dust from which it came from, slowly but surely. I know you're saying, Donnie, you kind of sounding crazy. Well, hold up. Let me just say this to you. Your job, wow, your company that you work for is robbing you of time. It is. I worked for 36 years, and so I understand that time is taken away from you by your job. No, don't get me wrong. You owe your job 8 hours. You owe them that because they're giving you a paycheck for that, and that's beautiful. But look at how much time they pull out of you based on all of the hopes, if you will, of being promoted and upward mobility. I mean, before you know it, you put in what, 12 to 16-hour days, and all you're getting paid for is 8 hours. I mean, just look at the time that's taken away from you. And every company has this, what I call an internal marketing script, if you will. They know how to get you. And it's for all their employees. It's having you focus on their stuff. Yeah. So you don't have time to focus on your stuff. But Donnie, what's my stuff, Donnie? What's my stuff? Well, it's your gift. You see, we all have gifts inside of us. And that's why your company hires you, because they want your gifts. They want to use your gifts for their business. And there's nothing wrong with that. You got a paycheck, but you got to be careful with your time. See, your job will pay you, yeah, based on time spent for your work. But your gift that God has given you will pay you based on time spent for your worth. And that's where you want to be. You want to be in that lane, understanding your worth. Yes. What do you value the most? That's the question. Your work or your worth? You see, work will never make you wealthy. It won't. Only your worth can do that. Your self-worth, yeah, of your gifts and how you leverage them to benefit you and your family. See, those are your blessings. And most of us get so trapped in time on a job that we don't spend time figuring out what God has for us. Yes, He has something special just for you. Parents, when you're interviewed, especially as you get older and you get wiser and when you retire, the one thing that's said by mostly everyone is that they wish they would have spent more time. Yeah, they realize time wasn't on their side. More time with their family, with their children, with their spouses. When we're in the presence of God, we find ourselves being in a place of worship, a place of praise. And so we love His presence. And that's the way your children feel. When you're at home and you're just in their presence, especially when they're young, they just love it that you're around because they know that you're a protector, a provider. And they just feel safe and comfortable because they're in your presence. But there's a difference when it comes to being in their presence and being present. And they want you to be present. When you're talking and when you're spending time with your children, I call it quality time. You've got to be present. You want God to be present when you're praying to Him and to answer your prayers. I mean, you want to be in His presence when you're worshiping Him, but when you want something, you want Him to be present. You want Him to be attentive to your prayer. You want Him to answer your prayers. Well, that's the same thing with your children. They want that time with you to where they can feel you, they can sense you really being in tune with them, that you're listening to them. And when they're talking with you, speaking with you, they just really see you listening intently. And you're giving an ear to what they're saying. Yeah, they want you to be there physically, yes. Mentally, spiritually, emotionally. They want you all locked in. But most of us are so busy, being busy, that we will sit there and be in our own world. And our children are thirsty for our time. Recently, my youngest daughter, Brianna, had a bridal shower. She's getting married soon. I think I told you this. And at the bridal shower, my oldest daughter, Sideria, gave her a necklace that had the name Thompson engraved in it. Because, our name is our bond. And so, she gave her something to hold on to because her name is going to be changing soon when she gets married. And my granddaughter's there. And so those two, they just needle, they play the dozen. They go back and forth about who's the real baby of the family. And as Brown is sitting there emotional and she's crying and tears are running down her face, My granddaughter has the nerve to whisper. I do mean whisper loud enough. And she says, rest in peace. And she catches the room off guard. She says, everything has an expiration. And she's telling my daughter, Brownie, you're no longer going to be a Thompson. And so Brenda told me, she heard it. She said, I want to go over and choke her. But she said it so nicely. She said, but it was just so canny. I just had to laugh inside. But she says, yeah, the rest in peace. And then Gabrielle came home and she told me, she says, Granddaddy, don't worry about it. I'll carry the Thompson name. I got you. And this is the way they meet each other because, see, they realize that time is really not on your side. No matter what you're doing in life, time is on the side of time. When you look at time that we live in, when you look at eternity that God lives in, and when you look at Satan and you realize he only has a short season, he only has a short lease in time to woo you, yeah, to be on his team. Be careful. Yeah, be careful letting him woo you. Because see, he's patient and he's waiting. Use your time wise is what I'm trying to say, because there are many things in this life that's going to try to distract you from your purpose before your time is up. Think about this for a moment, because we've all been here. When you were young, your number one goal was to be older. I mean, you did everything to look old. You started shaving, and you didn't even have no hair. You just had razor blades scraping up against your skin because you heard that if you started using a razor, you started growing hair. I mean, we were just desperate to get older faster. That was the goal. And now, guess what? As you've gotten older, the goal has changed. Now you want to be young again. Told you, time. Time don't wait for no one. Time is not on your side. Let me get just a little personal. Look at the lines on your face. Time drew those. I mean, look at your love handles. Time birthed those. I mean, look at your hair or the loss of your hair, like mine. Time said goodbye. That's what time does. We spend thousands upon thousands, millions upon millions of dollars on beauty products, trying to stay young, if you will, trying to be relevant every single day. I mean, you can buy a car, you can buy houses, you can buy jewelry, and let's be for real, you can buy a woman now, you can buy a man, you can go out and buy all the real estate. I mean, you can buy almost anything in this life because flesh is on sale and flesh is for sale. But the one thing that you and I, that none of us can buy is more time, which shows us, which demonstrates to all of us that time is our most valuable commodity. I mean, we can always make money. That's easy. But none of us have the power to make more time. Time is the one thing that you can't get back once you spend it, once you've lived it. Once it's gone, it's gone. How do you spend your time? That's so important. How do you spend your time? Do you spend your time in your thoughts? You know, some of us can get inside of our head and we can just think so much and think about so much stuff that we're trapped in our thoughts. That's time wasted. You're supposed to be living this thing out, not thinking this thing out. I mean, you can get yourself in such what my mom was, a hissy fit. You can put yourself in such a depressed state, into a funk, into a mental health crisis, just by being inside your head. Yeah, see, that's living outside of time. That's living improperly outside of time. You don't want to do that, but some of you are doing that. You're so trapped into time because you thought time was on your side, and you realize time has never been on your side because time is on the side of time. The reason we are so saturated with entertainment, I mean, the reason we have a deep affinity, if you will, for self-pleasurement is because we realize one thing. We realize it, that we're trying to distract ourselves because we don't want to think about time and where time is going. And so we put all this stuff, we pack all this stuff inside of time to distract us from time that's leaving us because we realize time is not on our side. So we're trying to ignore time. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to ignore time because we realize at the end of the day, we're exhausted because of time. Most of you don't even go to sleep at night. No, you just pass out. That's where you are because you're trying to treat time, yes, like you don't have enough time in the day to do all the things that you want to do. You never will, because you're not organized. You're not prioritized. No, you're not. And so you use time unwisely. Instead of having time in its proper place for the things that you need it to be for you. See, you don't use time. Time uses you. When you're never on time or never in time, how can God trust you with more time? Let me say it again. When you are never on time or you're never in time, how can God trust you with more time? We all have a birthday and we have a death date. Hasn't been written if you're still living. But in between, we have a dash. Yeah. Your birth date, a dash, and then your expiration date, if you will. That dash is your time here on this earth. It's the journey. It's your legacy. It's everything that you're going to be judged by and judged for. The dash of life. Yeah. You thought your life was so important, but really, when God looks at it, it's just the dash between when He created you and when He's decided to let your time run out. We deal so much with time past. I told you, get out of your past. That will mess you up. We need to be living in your present. Yes. Some of you want to jump to your future, but let's be for real. Every moment of your day, you should spend it enjoying your time. The Rolling Stones said that time is on my side. And King Solomon came behind him and said, there is a time for everything. And then, watch this. Apostle Paul makes it very clear that in this moment, in time, you have an opportunity to repent of all your sins and confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord and believe in your heart, yes, that God has raised Him from the dead. You see, that's the place. Yeah, that's the space. This is an opportunity for you to be on the right side of time as you drift over into eternity to be on the right team.